I feel the spirit moving in me. I feel the spirit moving in me.
Imagine that the year is 1854. It's during the Crimean War, and Florence Nightingale is a young nurse with a passion for helping others. And she arrives in a British-based hospital to find appalling conditions: overcrowding, poor sanitation, and the lack of basic care. The mortality rates were sky high, primarily not due to battle wounds, but because of infectious diseases spreading within the hospital. Nightingale was skeptical of the prevailing belief that these deaths were an inevitable part of war. And so she was driven not to accept the status quo, to be critical, to analyze what is going on, to look at the condition and the huge amount of deaths that are happening. So she began to gather data, to listen and watch, to observe the conditions in the hospital and to talk to the patients. And using her findings, Nightingale created detailed statistical reports that she could use to argue for hospital reform. And she was able to articulate these things and make changes by convincing the hospital that there were things that they could change to cut down on the mortality rate. Florence Nightingale's story is a powerful testament to the impact of being skeptical and of the accepted norms while remaining open to listening and acting upon evidence. Her approach changed the way hospitals are run, and she set a new model for being a nurse. This is the last day. We've been talking about the 5 agreements for a month. And the first one, you might remember, was to be impeccable with your word. And then my favorite, don't take anything personally. And third one was don't make assumptions. And the fourth one was always do your best. And Don Miguel Ruiz came out later with the 5th agreement, which is be skeptical, but learn to listen. And so that's what we're talking about today. How can we be skeptical and at the same time listen, right? So many people like to be skeptical. Here's a couple examples.
I don't care what the skeptics say.
At the present time, my deductions should be treated with skepticism.
I would greet that with skepticism.
No.
Look, Brian, I was skeptical too, but
Does people get a kick out of being skeptical?
Unfortunately for you, we live in skeptical times.
Maybe I've grown skeptical of being skeptical.
You can understand that we are skeptical.
Healthy skepticism is really amazing. It's a great tool that we have. It's like healthy skepticism is like being a detective, right? And going up into that cluttered attic and not being afraid, but using your flashlight to look around and to see what is really happening. What is the essence of this attic, of our life, of when somebody's talking, sharing their opinion? How can we be a detective and be skeptical, but not try and put them down or distance ourselves from them? Healthy skepticism is a detective. One that might say, that's very interesting.
very interesting. Very interesting, but stupid.
So being skeptical is not about dismissing everything at face value, but it's about looking deeper and asking questions, seeking evidence, and not just taking things as gospel truth, but looking deeper in them. And we're going to talk today about how can we improve our listening skills and apply that to our skepticism. It's kind of like when you hear a new song. I know for me, I love music. When I hear a new song, I kind of listen to it and I go, does that really resonate with me? Does it really fit my style? What's the message? Does it work for me? Not from a critical point of view, but kind of checking it out to see how it fits, how it works for me. I relate it to being a magician. I like to do magic, as many of you know, but I also like to watch magic shows, right? And a lot of the fun for me in watching another magician is to try and figure out how did they do what they did, right? Not from a place of being skeptical, right? But from a place of wonderment and appreciating the person's skill. This kind of skepticism is a tool that we can use for critical thinking, right? To really engage ourselves and to ask, what is the real significance of this? Skepticism is kind of like a sparring partner, right? And we get to use it and dance around with it so that we pursue information so that we can make good decisions. And sometimes there's unhealthy skepticism. I got a couple examples. For example, there's Conspiracy Carl, right? Now, here's the kind of guy that sees a mystery in every shadow. He sees a plot in every headline. Now, picture Conspiracy Carl at a barbecue, leaning in with a serious look on his face and whispering dramatically, "Did you know that the hamburgers we're eating aren't ordinary burgers? Oh no, they're part of Operation Grill the Truth. It's a secret program designed to make us forget about the real shape of the earth. They're round for a reason, my friend. It's all about getting us to go around and become dizzy and forget about the truth. It's a way to keep us spinning in circles." And as he's speaking, he's carefully flipping the burgers as if he's making a point to change history. And then, of course, there's Pessimistic Paula. Now, Pessimistic Paula owns a restaurant in Manhattan, and here's her conversation with her cooks. Cook number one says, "Hey, Paula, I have a great idea. Why don't we add a new fusion dish to the menu? It could attract more customers." Pessimistic Paula says, "Oh, more customers. That just means more complaints, more work for us. Plus fusion, people can barely handle our current menu." Cook number two says, all right, how about we introduce a loyalty program? Customers can earn points and get rewards for their visits. Pessimistic Paula rolls her eyes. Loyalty program? More like a let's give away our profits program. Next thing you know, they'll be asking for free meals. Cook number two says, whispering to cook number one, "I think it's time we switch to plan B." Cook number one says, "What is plan B?" Cook number two says, "Spike her coffee with a little bit of optimism." Paula says, overhearing that, says, "I heard that, and trust me, even optimism can't survive in this kitchen." And then there's cynical Cindy. cynical Cindy leaning against the office water cooler with a skeptical eyebrow raised. Oh, the boss has announced a new team building retreat. Ha! It's just another way to get us to work another day. Please, spare me the enthusiasm. We all know it's just another way to get us to work on our day off, disguised as some bonding experience. I'll bet they'll throw in some innovative trust fall or expect us to suddenly become best pals, as if that's going to fix all the problems in the office. Mark my words, we'll all be back to our typical cynicism on Monday morning. So some of the negative things that happen with skepticism are missed opportunities, resistance to change, lack of enjoyment, low self-esteem, and creating stress and anxiety. So how do we move from being good skeptics into a place of listening? So let's look at, what does it really mean to listen? What is the difference between hearing and listening? Now, imagine that you're standing in the rain and you're aware of the pitter-patter of the rain on your clothes and you're focused on that. While in that same moment, this amazing storm is happening, right? There's thunder and there's lightning and there's all kinds of drama and there's wind, but you are so focused on what's happening right here with you that you're missing the whole storm. You know, the difference between listening and hearing is, listening is when we engage our ears. Hearing is when we listen, when we engage our heart and mind and soul. So we want to be able to be skeptical, but we still want to listen. You know, hearing is it's just getting the vibration that's in the air and that's hitting our eardrums, and we're perceiving that sound. But listening is really receiving understanding. That, to me, is the real difference between hearing and listening. Listening is when we engage our hearts, our minds, and our souls. Imagine you're listening to a friend, hearing and catching their words, but are you really listening to them? Are you hearing the feeling behind the words? Are you hearing the pause? Right? Are you hearing some insecurity? Are you hearing some fear? Are you hearing some doubt? Are you really listening to with your heart about what's being shared? So this is really about being present in the moment and listening to the music of life. Are you listening to the music of life, or are you just hearing the sounds? Are you processing what's going on, or are you just oblivious to it? Are you hearing the birds? Are you hearing the traffic? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Or is your mind dancing around with yesterday's problems or tomorrow's challenges? So hearing is really about becoming present. It's another act in being present in the moment, being present right here, right now. It's a muscle that we get to act with. Right? When you're listening to somebody, are you really listening to what they're saying, or are you anticipating what you're going to say when they stop. The second one, right? So music is an acronym for the 5-step process that I've come up with for us to learn to be skeptical and learn to listen. The first thing that we want to do is to use the M in music for mind the source, right? When we're listening, to really mind the source that we're hearing from, right? This is kind of a reality check. Here we evaluate the reliability and the intent behind the information that we're receiving, right? And when we're hearing really juicy, shocking, sometimes we need to take a moment and say, what is really happening here? What is the energy of the source, and what can I understand from this? There's a lot of conspiracy theory stuff out there right now. Have you noticed? And it's just gone crazy with all the social media stuff, right? And it's so funny. It's like if you're around people at all, which I imagine you are, at some point in time, you're going to run into somebody who is a conspiracy person, right? And we've got 2 or 3 of them in our lives, and always got some theory about why this or why that. And I haven't met the guy with the hamburgers yet, but I'm interested in that. But I like what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. He says, when you talk with a conspiracy theorist, ask them to give you proof, and not just one source of proof. Ask them for a dozen sources of proof, right? Because most likely they don't have it. Because most people that are doing conspiracy theories are listening to one point of view. They've got one expert, somebody on YouTube, right, that is feeding them this information. And, look deeper in your sources. Somebody asked me a while back, was talking about electricity and how it's affecting, or how our cell phone coverage is affecting the waves in the universe and our health. And I was like, well, I'll send you some information. And I'm like, no, send me 10 pieces of information. I want to know from 10 different sources that is true. It's kind of like, I just heard recently that Elvis was seen on Mars, right? And that's why we're going there, right? Because there's going to be a free concert for every astronaut that can get to Mars, right? Don't you want to be the first one on your block to go to Mars to hear? Well, they're not sure it's Elvis, but he looks a lot like Elvis. And so you might want to ask, when you hear that Elvis is going to be on Mars, and I heard that it's true, you might want to step back and ask, who is promoting this? Who is going to make money from this? Why in the world would Elvis go to Mars? You'd probably get a lot more people here if he could come back and do that. So, when something comes up and you feel like you're on America's Got Information, don't be so prepared to hit that golden buzzer until you check the person's ID to make sure that they really are who they say they are and they know what they're talking about. So we can be skeptical, but learn to listen by employing the U in music, which stands for uncover different views. And this is really about being present and being curious, right? And when somebody brings you a view, it's really about, instead of poo-pooing it right away or being skeptical of it right away, to listen to them, to see if you can learn from a different perspective. Lots of times we get stuck, right? This is the way I think, this is the way that I am, I don't want to change my opinion. Now I know you're like, well, Blaine, you just told us just a minute ago to do something else. I know this is all about exercising our brains and being able to choose which angle we take. But we want to enter into a conversation with the intention to understand and learn from different perspectives, don't we? That's what I think it's what being intelligent is about. So we can be skeptical, but learn to listen also by employing the S in music, which stands for seek the three whys. Because we all want to be wise men and women, don't we? So when somebody comes, that wasn't meant to be punny, but it just sort of flowed that way. It came up with it. It's genius. One of our political leaders would say, wow, I'm a genius, because I came up with that. I won't tell you who would say that, but you can judge that on your own. So the three whys. So these are about asking why. I've got three whys. Why does this matter? Why do I agree or disagree? And the big one is, what is the motive behind the person that is promoting an idea, right? Are they trying to sell you something? We can look at numerous people who are out there spreading conspiracy theories because they're making money at it, right? They've got an attachment to convincing us. They have an agenda to convince us to purchase something. And I'm not judging this as good or bad. I'm just saying we get to pay attention. This is an opportunity for us to listen. And the I in music stands for investing in listening. And this is really about using our whole beingness to listen, right? To listen with our ears, right? To listen with our eyes, to look at the person's body language. What is the body language telling you? Is it closed down? Is it overly open? What is the body language telling you? And then to listen with your heart. Our heart is probably the best distinguisher of truth and fiction. To really listen with the heart, and even to be visible or to be aware of that and say, I'm going to listen with my heart and see what this feels like for me. What is it stirring in me, right? Is it making me feel loving? Is it making me feel fearful? Right? And really using that as a judge to help determine the right direction to go. And then we can be skeptical, but learn to listen by using the C in music to conduct reflection. And this is really about taking the information that we've heard and take it into meditation, right? Take it into contemplation and just really be with it before acting on something, and just asking ourselves, what does that feel like to me, right? Does that feel true? Does that feel honest? Does that feel like it's something for me? And just really to reflect on the information that we've received. Reflection is your personal debriefing session. It's the opportunity for you just to be present with who you are. So I invite you to meditate or contemplate on that and to write about it maybe. So using music as our guide, just to kind of review, so how do we practice being skeptical and listening? First of all, to mind the source. Be aware of the source that is putting out the information. Are they credible? Are they integrous? And secondly, to uncover different views and at the same time to be open to other possibilities and new views, and to be aware of somebody else's perspective or a possibility of gaining new information. And the third thing is to uncover or to seek the three whys, which again are, why does this matter? Why does this matter to me? Is it something that I care about? Am I invested in it? And do I agree or do I disagree? And what is the motive of the place where the information is coming from? Is there a motive that they have to sell me something, convince me of something? And then the last thing is second to last is to invest in listening. Right? Listen with your whole being, with your ears, your eyes, your heart, and just be open to listening. And then lastly, to conduct reflection, to take whatever information you've been given and contemplate it, right? Maybe not throw it out right away or buy into it right away, but just feel what it feels like for you. Connect with it. So be skeptical, but learn to listen. And, in music, a crescendo is a gradual intensity of the volume of the music. And so how I see that is I'd like you to think of this crescendo as a wave of desire that you get to ride, you get to capture, that you get to orchestrate into your life. And I invite you, and my call to action for you is just to take one or two conversations this week. And as you're in the conversation, apply some of this stuff. Sort of tune in, tune up to your musical perception and be a part of the conversation in a deeper and more profound way. To be your own composer of your own music and to really pay attention. Because I believe as we do this, we become better listeners, right? We become skeptical, but we learn to listen and apply our feelings, our thoughts, our truth to our lives. And thus we're able to be more powerful people, to live in the moment and to live successfully this musical orchestra that we're creating with our lives. So my affirmation for today is I blend the notes of skepticism and listening into a beautiful melody. So I invite you to close your eyes. Breathing in and breathing out. And to imagine your life as a symphony. That the thoughts and the words are all notes in the symphony. They're all parts of the orchestration that is your life, what you are creating for yourself, based on your ability to be skeptical, to gather knowledge, and to be able to discern what is powerful for you and what is not. Decide what melody to play. How can you be a more powerful instrument in the harmony of life? And I invite you to breathe into that and to imagine that you are harmonizing with the earth, with love, with all those with whom you communicate. Breathing in, breathing out. And I invite you just to let go of all these words and all these sounds and all these thoughts. And just focus on harmony. Being in the flow of the composition of your life with peace, with love. Breathing in and breathing out. Begin to bring your awareness back to this moment. And to open your eyes when you're ready. Do you want to know a secret? Do you promise not to tell? All right. What 3 questions would you ask? Uh-huh. Okay, what's the second question? Oh, good one. And what's the third one? Well, come on up, musicians. Maybe you can help me with this secret. Well, I invite you at this time to prepare your love offerings, your gifts to Unity on Maui. And as you hold them, to bless them and hold them in this amazing space of love and prosperity that is the truth of who you are. And think of them as a gift of understanding. And as you give them today, perhaps to think of it as you're making a deposit into your own consciousness, into your own desire and ability to experience prosperity. And I know that as we give, we receive. The law of prosperity says that as you give, so you receive. And I think that it's true, because when we give, we open up a space in our heart, our mind, and our spirit to receive more. So as you hold your gift, let's pray and affirm together our prayer of prosperity, which begins through a grateful, giving heart. My mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing infinite supply. And so it is. Namaste.
Thank you.
Loving Spirit, thank you for these gifts that have come to us in love. We hold them, we bless them, we give thanks for them, knowing that they're moving in and through and as this ministry across this amazing island, the state, and across the world. And we behold a world that's filled with love, with joy, with peace. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you. All right. Oh, Adam just reminded me that the prayer chaplain, or Adam and Marlene's also a prayer chaplain. I mean, anybody else I'm missing here will be available after the service if you'd like a personal prayer for health or for love or for giving thanks. So they'll be right around here. And let's see. Thank you for thinking about bringing flowers on Sunday. These might have been left over from the other night. I don't know where they're from, but they're really beautiful. So Kailani dedicated these to us, I'm sure. And thank you, Kailani. You are such a blessing. Great job on sound today. Thank you for all you do. Kailani is part of an organization that they were here Friday night celebrating. We had 100 people in this space on Friday night, and they're celebrating, if I can get it right, it's helping young girls to find the beauty in themselves. And it was so fun because it's so unusual and so magnificent. A part of it that really touched my heart was there were 10 white people in the room and everybody else was of color. And I'm like, wow, isn't that beautiful? You know, and to be here to celebrate such a magnificent event and to celebrate women and their accomplishments. It was an outstanding event. And if you'd like to know more about that, contact or talk to Kailani. You are an amazing individual. And if you're interested in doing like Kailani did and bringing flowers, there's a sign-up sheet in the back. Pick a date, tell us why you're bringing the flowers, and we'll be happy to announce it on Sunday morning. Let's see. Oh, and there are people in our community who have voiced an interest in wanting to have potlucks and possibly even hot drinks on Sunday morning. Not potlucks once a quarter and hot drinks on Sunday morning. There's a hospitality. What is it called? Hospitality sheet in the back if you want to sign up for that also. Great way to serve our amazing community. And also, as was mentioned, Robin and our joy singers will be singing on Easter, and there's rehearsal Wednesday here at noon. At noon, if you're interested in being a part of our joy singers. And then Robin will be back next week, and we'll have 2 Sundays of rehearsal before Easter. And Easter is going to be here, and we are anticipating that we're probably going to have 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 people. So I invite you, in preparing your thoughts for that you take into consideration the possibility of parking in the county lot down the street, which is kind of across the street from the library. And there's also parking at the elementary school down the street because we are going to have some kind of a shuttle happening on that day. And the shuttle will pick people up in the county parking lot and bring them here, because we can really only fit about 35 cars if we cram them in like we did last Sunday on this property. And so you might want to come early and to park down there just to make it flow easier for all of us. And let's see. Oh, Marianne's doing a concert? What, does anybody know anything about that?
I'm gonna do a night of all bossa nova music from Brazil at the Empanada Lady on the 23rd, Saturday. And it's only a $5 cover. It used to be 10, but now it's 5. And I have a full band, and I'm really excited about it. So, Bossa Nova Brazil. So, hope to see you there. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, next week my talk is titled Fortune's Hidden Cookies. Cracking into unexpected prosperity. And it's really about a program called Unexpected Prosperity. And what the design of the program is that we are holding the intention for all of us to receive some unexpected prosperity. That might mean money, that might mean opportunity, that might mean love, that might mean power, that might mean skills or talents. And so we are holding that is going to happen for all of us. So I invite you to come next Sunday and spark that amazing part of who you are. and crack open that fortune cookie so you can experience your fortune. So that's going to happen next Sunday.
And
right
Reverend
here.
Blaine, that's St. Patrick's Day.
It is.
So the luck of the Irish will be with us.
Aye, it will indeed. And if you look closely, you'll see there are shamrocks behind the picture, behind the fortune cookie. We mix cultures around here.
Yeah.
All right, so I think, and Walker talk from today's talk, it looks like this and is available in the back. I think I made 20 copies if you're interested in taking home what we talked about today. All right then, why don't we stand and take a deep breath. And so we'll affirm the prayer for protection, and then we'll sing together the peace song. After the prayer of protection, join hands around the outside, and we'll sing that together. All right, so let's just pray the prayer for protection, which begins, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. God bless you, friends. See you next week.
Where I live, there are rain.